Hello, my name is Caleb, and this will be the start of my YouTube channel. On this channel, we'll be discussing a number of topics, mainly like introspective topics. For example, like personal relationships, what people are usually thinking, or behind the scenes, what people are thinking that not a lot of people think about or think of to necessarily discuss. I have a little bit of a script, but it's not really a script, it's a rough outline. So if you see me look down here to get ideas sometimes, that's all I'm looking at. But yeah, when it comes to me personally, I'm in school. I like to play basketball. I used to play basketball in high school, and my favorite teams in terms of sports teams is the Detroit Tigers of the MLB, which is baseball, and the Milwaukee Bucks of basketball, which is the NBA. My two favorite players in the NBA, because basketball is really my true love. My two favorite players in the NBA is definitely number one, LeBron. I'm a LeBron fan, just to start that off. And then number two, Giannis. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I love him. He's tough. He's crazy. But to jump right into it with my channel, my socials will be linked in the description if you want to follow and support me. On socials, I go by the moniker Chilled Caleb. Everything, Twitter, Instagram, not Snapchat though. Oh no, even Snapchat, yeah. Even Snapchat, I have Chilled Caleb. So that's a little bit about me. I don't need to let y'all know too much more, at least not for now. But yeah, so we'll get right into the first topic. My bad, I'm coming at y'all from a slightly different angle now. But regardless, my first video topic and what we're going to be talking about is prioritizing yourself before you prioritize others. A lot of times we'll get stuck in, one of the relationships where we're always the one reaching out first, whether it's family, platonic, or romantic. And that's not good for our mental health. Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, a lot of these relationships we get into, regardless of the nature of it, isn't really benefiting us. And because of a attachment we may have to those people that we're in these relationships with or whatever, it'll lead to us pitting forward a dozen and only getting half a dozen back, and realizing that we're not really getting anything from these people to really claim that we have a relationship, or we may just be acquaintances, right? So in situations like these, I feel like you should ask yourself some simple questions, right? First of all, do you talk about this person to other people? And if you do, is it in a positive manner, right? And if that's the case, you gotta generally think about it. Does that person talk to other people about me, right? So for example, say you're friends with someone or whatever, right? And you think you have a great friendship with them and everything. And then, you talk to other people about them. They're such great friends that you have discussions with your other friends about them. Like, oh, this person's great or whatever, or so forth, whatnot, and the third, right? You gotta think about it. If I'm describing these people or this person in such a positive manner, is it mutual, right? Do they talk to their friends or other people about me in a positive manner? Or do they talk to me about do they talk about me to their other friends in general? And that's some of the first questions you should ask yourself. Because if you're starting to ask yourself these questions and the answer is no to the first part, I'm not gonna lie to you, you're probably cooked. You gotta realize what's best for you in said relationship, regardless of the nature of the relationship, platonic, romantic, family, right? And if you genuinely believe this person does not do the same for you or anything like that, then I don't think the relationship is necessarily the most beneficial. And that's just one instance of prioritizing yourself before you prioritize others. Is this relationship benefiting both me and the other person? And if it's just benefiting the other person and not benefiting me, then it's not worth staying in said relationship with that person, regardless of the platonic, romantic, right? If you catch yourself always being the one reaching out, and I mean always, because some people will use the excuse that they don't text first or they don't call first. Everyone texts or calls first. It doesn't matter who you are, everyone does. It just so happens you may not be one of the people they do that to, right? Don't let people use that excuse, or the excuse that, oh, I'm never on my phone. That's baloney. It's nonsense, all right? Don't let it fool you. It's a poor excuse. Let's be honest. If you really wanted to reach out to me, you could shoot me a text real quick, or contact me, or call me. It's not easy. It's not hard at all. It's not hard at all. And if that's the case, that you're always reaching out and this person is never really talking to you for real, then you gotta realize you're being too nice and considerate, and it may be time to dead that situation, right? So, you know, in my head, it's easy to say like, oh, you could prioritize yourself before you prioritize others, but how do you really prioritize yourself? Is there a way or a step-by-step process? It begs the question, how should we go about these one-way relationships? We all have them, whether we like to admit it or not. It isn't quite as simple as an answer to a solid question one might imagine, and at the same time, I don't have all the answers. So take it as a word of advice rather than as gospel, because at the end of the day, I'm human. We are all human, right? I'm young, right? I've had a lot of experiences at this young age, of course, but at the end of the day, I only know but so much. There's people more knowledgeable than me out there. Like, of course, I love introspective topics and everything, philosophy or whatnot, right? But don't take my word as gospel, but take it as a word of advice. And has anyone ever told you this or sat down with you and been like, hey, I have to have a serious conversation with you about the position that you're putting yourself in with a lot of these people, right? I believe you need to identify those one-way relationships first, and then when identifying these said relationships, attempt to distance yourself. And what do I mean by attempt? Go 2 to 3 months, not 2 to 3 months, my bad, 2 to 3 weeks, or even a month without reaching out to these people first, and see if they check in on you or anything like that, if they reach out to you or anything of the matter, right? And if they don't reach out to you not once over that time period, then I'm not gonna lie, you are cooked. It's over, right? If you could go a whole 2 to 3 weeks to a month without even caring about my existence, then I realize that I'm the one keeping this alive. You don't even want to talk to me for real. If anything, that person probably views you as a nuisance or annoying, because like I said, some people will use the excuse, oh, I don't text out, I don't reach out first. It is a poor excuse. It is a poor excuse. I don't care what anyone says. It is a poor excuse. I've seen that excuse used way too many times and people get away with it. You can't allow people to get away with that excuse no longer, you know. So if you're not going to at least put in some type of effort into whatever relationship we have, I'm going to have to dead it. No matter how hard it may be for some people. Because yes, I've been in those positions before. And yeah, you will be attached to certain people who aren't attached to you in the same way that you're attached to them. Or they don't even care about you for real. You got to identify that. And it may be hard, but you got to distance yourself, right? A big part of the human experience is understanding that people in life come and go, right? And one-way relationships are a perfect example of that. I guarantee you most of the friends, or a good amount of friends that any said person has, anyone that's watching this video, a lot of relationships or friendships you used to have with people that came and went, a good amount of them may have to have done with it being a one-way relationship, right? Now, I'm not saying that's gospel, but after all, that's what happens a lot of times. Like, people distance. Oh, how many times do you really sit there and you're hearing someone tell a story about their friend or whatever, and then they're like, oh yeah, we just stopped talking or we distance. Whose fault is that? If y'all are true friends, that would not happen. I guarantee you that would not happen if y'all were true friends, right? So now, I reckon use the realization of a one-way relationship and multiple one-way relationships that are potentially in your life to work on yourself. Nobody ever said you shouldn't be nice to others or reach out, but sometimes people that are dedicated to people who don't even want to associate with you behind closed doors, you need to focus on yourself. What do I mean by focusing on yourself? Simply figuring out how to improve yourself while maintaining a healthy level of happiness and social interaction. Because regardless of what people think, right? They'll be like, "Oh, I'm a loner. I don't like people." We are human beings. We are hardwired to need social interaction, some sort of social interaction. And if you don't get that, a lot of times you'll end up going insane. And social interaction doesn't mean going out to parties or being outside, like girls like to say nowadays, or anyone saying, like being outside or anything like that. It could just mean hanging out with one friend. You can have one good solid friend, or maybe two or three, or a small little tight knit friend group. That all counts as social interaction. Talking to anyone at all counts as social interaction. You need to make sure, if you're gonna cut out these one-way relationships, you get a healthy amount of social interaction through other people that genuinely care about you before you just snip on a relationship, because it may break you if you do that. If you just snip cold turkey, right? Focusing on yourself doesn't mean becoming a recluse, right? It means simply investing more in the relationships that are good for you. The people who are two ways, truly mutual. It brings you happiness. It includes doing things that make you feel the happiest, maybe even working out from time to time, really taking a walk at the park, going outside, getting some fresh air, and reevaluating those who are around you and what you're attempting to do with yourself, and lock in on the things and people that mean the most to you, right? The things and people that provide you the most happiness. You need to do that if you're going to try to improve on yourself and prioritize yourself. Because the thing about the whole prioritize yourself before you prioritize others issue is that a lot of people will then cut off those others, but then they won't do the second step, which is prioritizing yourself. And that's not necessarily their fault. A lot of people don't know how to prioritize themselves because they're such people pleasers. People pleaser is something that I used to be. I used to be a people pleaser. I don't know, whatever, anything, I'd love to give out to people. Not that they give me anything back, but I just love making others happy. And I've fallen into that trap. And I'm trying to help people realize how to not fall into that trap. And you need to figure out how to prioritize yourself. That's why I'm trying to give you a step-by-step process in a way, but not truly telling you what to do per se, right? After you do that, I'll say it's a lot easier said than done, right? Many of us struggle to come to terms with acknowledging the fact that we have one-way relationships in our life that consists of people who we have emotional and mental attachments to. It's difficult to simply focus on yourself, as I've discussed extensively, because some need that form of social interaction with people. Some need some form of, Some need some form of social, I'm getting twisted up. Some need some form of social interaction with people, because that's just how some people are. They need social interaction. A lot of people. And then some people don't want to get closer to the people who actually value them, because they value the one-way relationships more than the actual ones that care for them. So a lot of times you'll be cooking yourself, right? I personally feel like self-love is something that is becoming more and more lacking of time as time goes on, and the advancement of social media and us seeing all these like people online that we want to quote unquote look like, or like gym bros, or like girls seeing girls with great bodies and everything. It's making us, with the advancement of social media, it's making us slowly want to be like other people rather than focusing on ourselves and being yourself. That is a big issue. That may be a topic for another video. Being yourself. Being yourself is super important. Having confidence in yourself and you as a person is super important in this game we call life. I am no life coach. I never claimed to be one. I'm just here trying to help people like me, normal people, normal working people in the world. Try to help them and help myself at the same time, because these things that I'm going to be posting and these video topics that I'm going to be posting, even right now what I'm discussing, I'm not perfect in any way. There are still one-way relationships in my life that I'm still trying to invest in, unfortunately, while realizing they're one-way relationships. So I gotta lock in myself. But at this point in my life, I am well suited to my skin. I'm comfortable being in my own skin, and I take pride in that. A lot of people aren't. You know, they see what they see on social media, they see what they see around them, and so they want to be like others. Everyone is turning into a carbon copy slowly without being themselves, mindlessly scrolling on social media platforms and soaking up toxic behaviors that leads to no one really understanding or standing out from one another. Everyone's just becoming a clone. No one has their own unique personality, right? We're all human at the end of the day, right? But we're all also unique in our own ways, and being unique has become more and more looked down upon nowadays as time goes on. Like, a large majority of people are starting to call people who are unique or do certain things, quote unquote, NPCs. And I'll say that's like a topic for another video. But the NPC culture, or just literally doing something normal or regular, nowadays people are calling, oh, you're corny or you're weird. Y'all know the social media trends. It's corny. They're corny for saying it's corny, for people being themselves. And I get this to a certain extent, like people doing just strange or weird things that's like not really acceptable. But people literally hate on people for literally just doing simple things like drinking water or being quote unquote normal. And the word normal has become so blurred. What even is normal at this point, right? So I'll end off with this. Prioritizing yourself before you prioritize others is essential in the human experience. We can't have the human experience without doing that. Because being a giver and not getting anything, you gotta realize eventually that's gonna fall back on you. If you're not rich or anything of the sorts, being a giver and not getting anything is gonna fall back on you. Like I said, the steps I consider to prioritize yourself before you prioritize others is realizing what those one-way relationships are, you know, trying to slowly cut them out. I think the first step actually was realizing what those one-way relationships are. Yes, sorry, I'm stuttering. But not only that, but going 2 to 3 weeks or maybe even a month without talking to that person. If they don't reach out to you, boom, all right, you know what you got. And if they don't reach out to you, do things that make you happy. Prioritize the ones that make you happy, right? Focus on the relationships that make you happy. A lot of times we're cutting out one-way relationships in our lives and not prioritizing those who don't really care about us. It'll make you realize the people who genuinely care about you, whether it's romantic, platonic, or family, was sitting in your face the whole time. You know, a lot of times guys or even girls, they'll get caught up going for a certain guy or girl, right? And then they won't get that person. But then they realize this person was sitting here the whole time, was going to provide me the whole world. And then by the time they realize that person they should have invested in was really the one, that person been done moved on. It's over. You prioritize someone else other than prioritizing yourself. And if you prioritize yourself, you would have realized what's best for yourself. That's the whole thing about self-love and prioritizing yourself. You'll realize what's best for you rather than sticking to toxic habits and thinking you could be like others or following trends. Trends, don't be a trend follower, be a trend setter. And I'm sure a lot of things that I'm saying you've probably heard before. And I'm not necessarily trying to recycle the cycle. Double entendre right there. I'm not trying to recycle the process, right? But I'm doing this out of my passion for really trying to help other people. So I'll end off on this. Really prioritize yourself before you prioritize others, because it is a dangerous bridge you could cross, and it could end up in the downfall of yourself if you don't do so, right? At the end of the day, I keep on saying I'll end on this, but I will. At the end of the day, when you pass away, or whenever death begs, or whenever it comes knocking at the door, you're dying with yourself, right? You're always going to have yourself. No matter the situation, you will always have yourself. Other people aren't always gonna be there. And like I said, I'm not pushing you to become a recluse. I'm not pushing you to become a loner. I'm pushing you to accept those who are closest to you, who actually want to associate with you, rather than dedicating yourself to those clowns who are just using you or don't even want to be around you or talk to you, but aren't man enough or woman enough to say it. If you sit there and you're not man or woman enough to say, hey, I genuinely can't stand you or whatever, I'm sorry. You're not the one, right? You're not the one to be friends with. You're not the one to date. Anything like that. Even family. Family ties. Family doesn't mean much nowadays because you got family stabbing each other back every single day. So prioritize yourself before you prioritize others. This is my first YouTube video. Links are in the description for my socials. Everything is. It's my YouTube name, Chilled Caleb. Everything is Chilled Caleb. I'm glad you're supporting. If you made it to the end of the video, I'm glad you actually listened to me ramble and yap about this topic that I'm pretty confident and passionate in. But I'm glad I think I have a solid enough understanding within the topic and experiences in my life in order to project and give advice to other people about how to deal with these issues. And at the end of the day, we are all human and none of us are perfect, and no one, including me, is perfect. So I'm glad you listened. Socials are in the description. My name is Caleb, Chilled Caleb, and I hope you'll return for the next video. Have a blessed day.